Thank you, donors.
From the bottom of our hearts, we're just so grateful.
Olha para o céu, olha para as nuvens que estão a passar e fazem de nós reféns, estão-te a contar. Tu vais perceber. Olha para o céu, te estou a escrever. Quando eu te vi, fiquei logo a saber que era contigo que queria envelhecer. Fizeste-me provar, vi debaixo do véu. Estou a implorar. Olha para o céu, fizeste-me provar, vi debaixo do véu. Estou a implorar. Olha para o céu.
Hello, and welcome to this special presentation about the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program, hosted by Save the Cord Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit and the official education partner of the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program. Today, our Executive Director, Sheris Ober, will be interviewing Kirsten Wilt, a nurse and team leader for the cord blood program at TMC for women. The purpose of today's interview is to introduce you not only to the program, but also to give you a bit more detail on how the program is run. This highly successful program is a model for other states to follow, and perhaps other authorities in other countries to follow. It has been a tremendous success in cord blood donation, and we hope it will continue and expand in the years to come. Now I'd like to turn the program over to Sheris Ober and Kirsten Wilt.
Hello and welcome. I'm Sheris Ober, Executive Director of Save the Cord Foundation. Today, I'd like to share some important information with you surrounding Save the Cord Foundation and the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program. Save the Cord Foundation is a 501c charity whose mission is to advance cord blood education, awareness, and research throughout our state, nation, and the world. The foundation advocates saving cord blood for both public donation and family banking. Save the Cord Foundation is an education partner with the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program and works with the Arizona Biomedical Research Center and the Arizona Department of Health to educate healthcare professionals, expectant parents, the public, and the next generation of students and youth about the importance of saving umbilical cord blood. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with Kirsten Wilt, who is the nurse cord blood coordinator at Tucson Medical Center. Welcome, Kirsten.
Hi, Sheris. Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here today, and we have lots of questions for you. So I'd like to start by asking you if you can share with us about your background and then share with our audience the history surrounding the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program.
Okay, so my background is I graduated from nursing school in 1993. So I don't know, do the quick math. I've been a nurse for a really long time. And then in 2000, I graduated with a master's of science in nursing, specializing in women's health care as a nurse practitioner. And then about almost 7 years ago, I took on bringing the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program to Tucson Medical Center here in Tucson. And I've been the coordinator of that program ever since then.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you so much for that information. So a little bit of history about the program. How is the program funded? And can you tell us a little bit about some of the other hospitals that are currently part of the program?
Yeah, so the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program was started in 2011 by the Arizona Department of Health Services and a subsidiary of theirs, the Arizona Biomedical Research Center. There are 4 hospitals currently in the state of Arizona that participate. One of them is, the only one in Southern Arizona is my program here at Tucson Medical Center in Tucson, Arizona. And then we have 3 hospitals in Phoenix that are all coordinated by Wendy Barrett. She's our Central Arizona coordinator. And they are Dignity Health St. Joseph's Medical Center. That's where she's housed. And then Valleywise Medical Center, which used to be Maricopa Medical Center. And then our third partner is Dignity Chandler out in the East Valley. And we each have a dedicated consenter. Wendy at St. Joseph's has 2 consenters plus herself. And the other 2 Phoenix hospitals have 1 consenter each. And then down here in Tucson, we have 2 consenters at the hospital. And a consenter is the person who is actually, their entire job is to deal with consenting patients for cord blood donation and to assist with the collections and all the paperwork, and then get the blood ready to be prepared for shipping. And they get it, they're in charge of getting it shipped to our cord blood bank. It is funded through the state of Arizona through lottery taxes. So the Arizona Biomedical Research Center gets a certain percentage of those taxes, and a certain percentage of it is used for our program to fund it throughout the state of Arizona. So it's really nice. It doesn't cost the patients anything to donate, and it doesn't cost the hospitals anything either. So it's really a fantastic program that the state has created.
You know, it is. It's a very special and unique program. And maybe you can tell us why it is so unique, and especially for the state of Arizona.
Yeah, one of the things that makes it really unique is that because we have these consenters, that's their sole job. So it takes all the work away from the nurses in the hospital, which, having been a labor and delivery nurse myself for many, many years, you're so busy. And you really don't have time to talk to patients at length about donating their cord blood and dealing with all of the paperwork and everything that's involved with it. So that is one of the things that has made this program so successful, is that the state is providing these consenters that will do all the work. And the nurses can just sit back and support it and encourage their patients to donate. The other really great thing about it is that it is hard for people in this day and age with mixed racial and ethnic genetic backgrounds. It's difficult for them to find a stem cell match. And so the state of Arizona recognized that a while back and said, you know, we need to create this program so that we have more stem cell donors, because these cord blood units are donors. We need to have more donors for our vast population of different races and ethnicities. And remember, Arizona has, or maybe not everyone knows this, Arizona has 22 Indian tribes, Native American Indian tribes. So it's really, we get at Tucson Medical Center, as well as the other hospitals, we get quite a few Native American donors. So that is a great thing for our state.
Wow, that's fascinating to know the intricacies of the program and why it is so special. And I know Arizona is probably one, if not the only state that has as comprehensive a program. And we're going to go into that with more detail a little bit later. But now, Kirsten, if you could explain, you talked a little bit about who the nurse coordinators, but if you could expand a little bit on who helps to coordinate and consent and collect, and then who actually collects the cord blood unit.
Okay.
And then if we could follow up with a little bit about the donation criteria for the expectant moms.
Absolutely. So our consenters, what they will do is sort of coordinate with the patient's nurses and find out if they qualify. Some of the major things that have to happen, or major qualifications, are they have to be at least 18 years of age. That is a state of Arizona requirement. I believe some other states allow a little bit younger than that, but so for our program, it's 18 years old. Patients have to be 36 weeks along or more, and they have to be only carrying a single baby, no multiple, no twins or triplets or anything. So those are our basic requirements that the patient has to have. There are a few very common things that will preclude them or disqualify them from being able to donate. One being any travel recently, within the last 18 months to be exact, of mom or the father of the baby, no travel in the last 18 months to any Zika endemic countries or areas. So not a lot of people know this. France is considered a Zika endemic country. You wouldn't think of it that way, but it is. We are only an hour's drive from the border. We have tons of patients that go to Nogales just for the day, or people that go to Rocky Point and, you know, for a weekend or a week vacation, and that unfortunately makes them ineligible to donate. So that is sort of a hindrance, can be for us. There's also some other health factors, like any type of bloodborne diseases like HIV or hepatitis. They can't donate with that. Any current sexually transmitted diseases, things like that. So once the consenter has sort of figured out with the nurse that the patient qualifies, then they will pick an appropriate time to go and talk to the patient. They do have to sign a consent form that's just explaining that the cord blood's not saved for you or your family or your baby. It's a donation. I always explain it's a lot like donating blood to the Red Cross. You're not expecting them to save it for you. You're doing it to help other people. And that's what this is as well. And then there are some quite extensive health history questionnaires that we have to go over with the patients that go into actually immediate family members, not just the mother of the baby. So dad and mom and dad's parents, so that would be the baby's grandparents, any siblings of mom and dad, and any siblings of the baby. And then once they've answered all those questions and there's nothing, we don't find out anything that would make them ineligible, then they're all set up to donate, and that's all they have to do. And then once it's time to deliver, our collections are done in utero, meaning that we collect the cord blood from the cord once it's been clamped and cut from the baby, so it's no longer attached to the baby. But the placenta is still inside of the uterus and it hasn't delivered yet. That's when we actually do our collection. And the person doing the collection is either going to be the delivery provider. So here at Tucson Medical Center, it's going to be one of our OBGYNs or one of our midwives. And then one of our consenters, or myself or a nurse or tech that I've trained that's available, will assist that provider, that delivery provider, with the collection, just because they're dealing with a large needle that they're inserting into the umbilical cord, which is slippery and moves around. And then the bag needs to be agitated a little bit while the blood is draining into it, because there's anticoagulant in there that we need to mix with the blood so it doesn't coagulate. So it takes like 4 hands to do it. So we always have somebody assist the provider with that collection. And then once the collection is complete, we have to label everything and weigh it, and it gets temperature monitored until it is time to put it in our shipper and send it to our cord blood bank.
Right. Do you happen to have a collection bag with you that you could show us?
Actually, I do. I brought one along. Actually, I brought a couple along. I don't have an empty bag, but I do have these bags. They're simulations. They are not real blood, but this is a 200 milliliter collection, and this would be our ultimate goal. If we could get this, almost every single one, we get this size, we'll have enough stem cells in it to work when it is transplanted into a patient for engraft. Anything less than this, maybe between 150 to 200, most likely that would get processed, but generally under 150, it's sort of hit or miss. This one is just so people could see who are actually, if they're ever actually doing collections, this is 100 milliliters. This is our minimum that we're required to collect to actually even send it to our cord blood bank. If we don't collect this minimum, we discard it here on site, just like it would have been if they weren't donating. And the reason that we have to have this minimum is anything less than this just absolutely won't have enough stem cells in it for it to engraft. So this is a minimum, our minimum goal, but this is what we prefer, is exactly this. And this is the actual bag. So it normally has, when we're going to do a collection, it has the tubing still connected to this with a needle on the end of it. And the needle is just inserted into the umbilical vein. And then our delivery provider is just going to hold it there while we hold the bag low to the ground so that we get some gravity action that's helping pull the blood out of the cord and into the bag.
Fascinating. And I wanted to touch quickly on those units that don't make the volume requirements. Many times are used and given to researchers.
True.
Could you comment on that too?
Yeah,
that we do utilize those.
We here at Tucson Medical Center, unfortunately, we don't currently have a researcher that is receiving any cord blood from us. I know at our Phoenix hospitals, we've had some researchers off and on that will take units that we would normally discard, which is fantastic because the more research we can do, the better. And then also, once it gets to the cord blood bank, if they're if they test it and it doesn't have enough stem cells in it for it to engraft in a patient, then there's oftentimes researchers that will want the blood at that point as well. And a lot of times they're just trying to figure out how it's very much dependent on the number of cells collected. So a lot of the research they're doing is trying to figure out how to grow those cells once we have them collected. Just that way the minimum volume won't be such an important thing. It'll always be important, but it won't make the units ineligible anymore.
Kirsten, I noticed you have a shipper behind you. Can you explain to our audience a little bit about how cord blood is shipped and what the shipping parameters are?
Yes, so once we collect the cord blood here at the hospital, we have a storage room that has, it's actually honestly a cooler, kind of like a beer cooler, that we put the cord blood in, and there's a temperature monitor inside of it. It's just at room temperature, and our room temperature parameters are 15 degrees to 25 degrees Celsius. So pretty much from the moment it's collected, we are monitoring the temperature. And then once we are ready to actually ship it, that's just our storage container. Once we're ready to ship it, we use one of these red shippers we have back here. And it's got styrofoam inside of it. And we put a new temperature monitor inside of that we start. We put all the cord blood units that are being sent and the corresponding paperwork. And then we start that thermometer that's inside of there. And then once it gets to the cord blood bank, they can actually plug that thermometer into a computer, and it gives them all the temperature ranges that the cord blood's been at for the entire time since it's been in there. And occasionally, in the summer months or the winter months, if we have extreme heat or extreme cold, they do get disqualified because they went over their temperature or under the temperature. So it is very important.
Interesting. And is the cord blood actually cooled, or is it at ambient or room temperature?
Just room temperature always. And then once it gets to the cord blood bank, it's only good at room temperature for 48 hours. So ultimately it gets cryopreserved. It takes about 4 hours to process it at the cord blood bank and get it cooled down and cryopreserved and stored in cold storage. So we're required to get it there by about 44 hours or so.
So obviously the sooner it gets to the bank, the better, the fresher the cells are, and possibly the better the unit is going to be for potential transplant.
Correct.
Great. Thank you. So we have just endured a year plus of the pandemic, and I wanted to ask you, how has COVID-19 affected the collection of cord blood for your program and other programs across the United States and around the world?
Unfortunately, it has been, it's affected our program quite a bit. We did have to shut down collections for about 4 months, from April through July last year of 2020. And if you think back, nobody knew what this virus was and what was going on. And, each day scientists were learning more and more and more. But part of that shutdown was that we also weren't considered essential personnel in the hospital, and they really didn't want anybody in a patient's room unless they absolutely had to be there. There were multiple factors that all kind of came together and caused that shutdown. We were allowed to start recollecting in August, but we did have some new rules regarding COVID. One of them being that we are required to have a negative COVID test within 7 days prior to the collection of the cord blood. And then we also are not collecting from any patients who have a history of COVID during their pregnancy. So that, we had a couple days around Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holidays, when it was really bad almost every patient that was here in the hospital on any given day either was positive for COVID or had it during their pregnancy. So that was rough. It's definitely getting much better. And also the test, the negative test within 7 days, that was very difficult at the beginning because the tests, if you remember, were so few and far between and very difficult to get. And even here at the hospital, they were difficult to get. And they really only wanted to use them for patients who were sick. And we were trying to decide if they had, trying to determine and diagnose whether or not they had COVID. So to use them just for a screening test was difficult to get that done. But it's definitely on the up. We're doing better.
Right. And I just kind of wanted to inject during the pandemic when individuals weren't able to cross an ocean to receive a bone marrow transplant, either the donor or the recipient, that cord blood transplant shot up exponentially because cord blood that was already on the registry was considered pre-COVID units that were cryogenically preserved and ready to go off the shelf. And so cord blood really became extremely popular, although, we still respect bone marrow. This was a better alternative and a safer alternative with the numbers going up quite a bit. So I just wanted to throw that in as a little bit of added interest.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you mentioned that, Sheris, because, I kind of jumped at how COVID hurt us. But you make a great point about how much COVID actually kind of helped the cord blood industry. At least, some doctors prefer to use bone marrow over cord blood just because that's what they were trained with, or what have you. And so, some of them were probably forced to use cord blood because it was their only option. And that's a really good thing because patients still got the treatment that they needed. And then transplant physicians, hopefully, that aren't super familiar with cord blood were sort of forced to become familiar with it. And hopefully they found it just as useful as bone marrow.
Exactly. So can you share with us the number of transplants and cord blood units that have been collected through the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program?
Yes, so we have collected between our entire statewide program since 2011, 7,800 approximately cord blood units. And then we have had, as a collective program, 75 matches. So 75 cord blood units collected in Arizona and through the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program have gone around the United States as well as other countries around the world to treat patients who probably didn't have any other option. This was probably their last option. So it's really, we are all very proud of all of that.
Wow, that's incredible. To think that there's 75 individuals out there that were at end stage that couldn't get a match with bone marrow, right? And they had that option. And, it could be any one of us. It could be us, our family, our neighbor, anyone. Right. And it's so incredible that it's such a life-saving program for so many individuals. So incredible, good work there. I want to talk a little bit about the over 80 different life-threatening diseases that cord blood can be used to treat. Can you comment on that for us, please?
Absolutely. For those that don't know, I've kind of touched on it off and on throughout this interview, but what I usually tell my patients that I'm educating them and seeing if they're interested in participating, that most people haven't heard of a cord blood transplant, but most people have heard of a bone marrow transplant.
Right.
Or someone who's looking for a bone marrow donor, whether or not they understand what that is. So I usually try to explain to them, it's very similar, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just we use a cord blood unit instead of bone marrow. But so it's used a lot of the same way that bone marrow is. So if, right away we think of blood cancers like leukemia and lymphoma. Those are probably the most common diseases that we treat with cord blood. We also can treat sickle cell disease, which is another one people are fairly familiar with. And then there are quite a few metabolic diseases and immune system diseases that people are definitely not as familiar with, but they can be life-threatening, absolutely, for these patients if they can't get a transplant. So it's really nice that they have this option.
Right, right. Can you also share with us how cord blood is being investigated for regenerative medicine? That's the big buzzword now in the stem cell world, and some of the purposes and some of the different treatment options that are being investigated for many, many different situations that personally I never thought we would ever be able to
Right.
have any impact on. If you could comment on the regenerative medicine aspect of autologous cord blood.
Absolutely. The first couple that come to my mind are all the research that Joanne Kurtzberg is doing at Duke University. She's done so much research with treating kids with cerebral palsy, also with autism using cord blood. Dr. Wise Young is using cord blood to treat patients who are paralyzed, which is just incredible. I have a family friend who's been paralyzed almost his entire life, and it's just amazing to think that maybe someday, you know, that could be treated, improved, cured with Dr. Wise's research that he's doing. And then there's lots of research going on around the world. They're doing research on how to treat and cure type 1 diabetes. They're doing research on stroke. You name it. Somebody is looking into it. Hearing, I think you know more about the hearing one than I do, but there's just a lot out there.
Right, right. And right now, most of the emphasis is on family banked or autologous, so using the child's own cord blood. But with Dr. Wise Young, he's actually using cord blood that's donated, that doesn't have to be HLA matched. And that's where a program like the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program someday could contribute with thousands of units of cord blood that could be, you know, utilized for individuals with spinal cord injury. So, I mean, that's super exciting to me that, you know, we could not just help those that have family bank, but that those that possibly couldn't afford family banking, but could have an option and be treated for spinal cord injury. So it's an amazing thing to think about. Kirsten, thank you so much for all of your information and facts that you shared with us today. And before we finish the interview, I'd like to let our audience know that the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program is part of a science roadmap for the state of Arizona. Arizona has become a science learning lab where in real time, we can incubate and develop key concepts for expanding and promoting the preservation and research of cord blood. It's actually a multi-center science-based business platform that's been created for our state that addresses 5 different areas. The first is cord blood donation. The second is cord blood education. The third is stem cell research. The fourth is important legislation. And the fifth is actually attracting other pharma, bio, and cellular businesses and industries that create a synergistic business halo for our state. Again, before I leave, I'd like to acknowledge that Dr. Victor Waddell is the Executive Director for the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program, and Jennifer Botsford is the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program Director. Following our program today, you'll see links on the screen where you can visit and find out more information about Save the Cord Foundation and also the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program. Kirsten, thank you so much for joining us today. And we want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule and sharing so much important information and facts with our audience. So thank you so much for joining us. And I want to say thank you to our audience, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you, Cheris. I am always happy to talk with you and to talk to anyone who will listen about cord blood. So I really appreciate you having me on today.
Great. You're welcome. Thank you.
If you would like to learn more about the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program, please visit www.arizonapubliccordbloodprogram.org or visit us at Save the Cord Foundation, www.savethecordfoundation.org, and look for the links to the Arizona Public Cord Blood Program. Again, thank you for listening today, and we do hope that you will share what you've learned with others, because every conversation could potentially save a life.
Hola chicos,
¿Qué tal?
Hola,
¿cómo os llamáis? Contadme.
Yo Marta.
yo soy Diego. Yo Fernando, del Centro de Transfusión, del Equipo Médula.
Y yo, José.
¿Y qué vais a hacer con ese arnés?
Pues...
¿Tiene que saltar?
A saltar, saltar.
Sí,
Vamos a
¿saltamos?
saltar desde un avión.
My name is Diego. I'm a bone marrow donor and I have just jumped from an airplane to make this video. Imagine how much adrenaline and happiness I felt after finding a compatible patient that this jump was nothing compared to that moment. It's extremely hard to find someone compatible in this world, but it's an experience that everyone should taste once in his life. Join the Marrow team.
Hi, I'm Jose, and I am grateful to be a bone marrow donor and to help someone anywhere in the world who needs me. Every day we are more donors, but we need more empathy to make this world a better place. Join the Marrow team. Equipo Médula.
Hello, my name is Marta. I'm in charge of bone marrow donation campaign among the students of UPM. UPM is the biggest and the oldest university, technical university in Madrid and probably in Spain too. We have been sharing information about the importance of bone marrow donation for many years, but since 2019 we have 2 special weeks where people from the Transfusion and Donation Center come to our schools to, beyond giving information about the process, to effectively register those students who are really interested in becoming a donor. We are very proud of this collaboration, and we are Equipo Médula UPM.
Thank you, donor!
Hello, my name is Rich Dakota.
And I'm Michelle Dakota.
All right. To tell you a quick story about the Caribbean Bone Marrow Registry, and I know they work with the World Marrow Fund, which is just simply awesome. A few years ago, we know one of the founders of the Caribbean Bone Marrow Registry, and we wanted to support their activity. So my wife and I, we arranged a meeting. We got an explanation as to what they did. We thought that was very, very important. And we made the donation, but as we did that, we also got swabbed. All 5 of our family members got swabbed for our genetic typing. And that's really the essence of the reason for this. Do that for your family. Because of that, we had a mind of the importance of it, but it was really brought home within 1 week of that date when I got a call that my sister was diagnosed with leukemia. And it all of a sudden made, tremendous sense for what we did. And I was immediately put in mind of what I needed to do for my other family members to see who would be the best genetic match as far as blood type goes for my sister Michelle. And so I was ready to act even as she was in her initial days in the hospital, to call people, to tell people that we need to mail the swabs out to people to get that back in, to get the genetic typing done. And through all of that, it was decided that, I was the best match. And here she is, all smiles.
He gave up those Mac Richies.
Yes, right. And I'm thrilled to have my sister here. And I'll pass the baton to her.
I guess the takeaway is being prepared and how critical that is. And time is of the essence. The sooner you get the answer to the genetic testing, it is extremely beneficial to the patient. And it is better to get the answer to the genetic testing before your loved one is diagnosed than to wait for an answer after a diagnosis.
Definitely.
Because the benefit of a reduced wait time is critical for the patient. I thank God that even while I was praying, he was working it out. I had no idea that they were, they went to this thing, that they were swabbed and tested. And, by the time they got to me in New York, they were ready, And so I thank God for that, for the whole preparation thing. And so it's important for us to get that message out, and because it was beneficial for me. And I want that for everybody. I pray that if you get tested, that you never need it. But at least you're ready.
That's what's important. You don't want any delay and any unnecessary extended treatments before they can get the transplant.
More rounds of chemo.
Right. We thank God that there is a treatment process, but the sooner you get it done and get back to being home with the family with a successful transplant, the better. So again, we thank God for the Caribbean Bone Marrow Registry, CBMR,
and the dunks.
And their amen, the tremendous people, and the World Marrow Fund that they collaborate with. We are deeply appreciative of them and their efforts.
And for those of you like me who went through this journey, they are amazing support. They are God-sent help. I can't stress that enough.
One of the reasons why you want to get your families tested is that our genetic typing, people of Caribbean descent, African descent, even some of the Asian descents, there's a lot of genetic mixing in the world, and you might find that your genetic typing is not available in the registries.
In the mainstream.
Right. Just sort of a general walk in and let me get my donor thing. No, that may not happen. And so it's imperative that you know who your best donors are in your family based on genetic typing, so that is out of the way. It's akin to knowing your blood type. It's that essential, okay? Because again, just reaching out and saying, is there a donor in the world, could take
throwing a dart.
Yes, it's throwing a dart instead of
and
just
hoping that
knowing
it hits.
and getting from the gene pool that is from your family. You see? So it's very, very important. That's why we took the time to do this video, to really encourage you. Do not delay. Get it done and put it down. Save that documentation. And hopefully you'll never need it.
Never need it.
But
if you do,
you've got it.
You're ready.
All right. So
be prepared.
That's right. All day. Thank you.
Bye.
We love you. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, Ben here, and welcome to swinging and seeing how high we can get.
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my home.
One day I'd like to be on The Voice one day, probably.
Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind.
Right. This is the Eurovision Song Contest for 2015. This is Ben Walker singing. What's the song title?
I will win.
Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds.
So, hello everyone who's watching.
I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams keeping me what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take.
Run like the wind!
For the world we're gonna make.
However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams are keeping me awake.
A million dreams, a million dreams. I think of what the world vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
Pues yo estaba embarazada, entonces como estaba embarazada no lo vi tan pronto porque eran síntomas muy iguales al embarazo. Sí, empecé a encontrarme muy cansada, pero claro, todas las embarazadas están cansadas. Empecé a vomitar muy raro, pero claro, en el embarazo también se vomita raro, o sea, fue muy rápido. Porque a mí me habían hecho unos análisis en diciembre por el embarazo. En marzo fue cuando descubrieron que tenía la leucemia, o sea que en esos 2-3 meses me había comido. Lo tenían claro, mi leucemia solo se curaba con un trasplante de médula. Y yo recuerdo que solamente que les pregunté, ¿pero tengo opciones? Sí, ya está, aunque fuera 1, 2, 3. Ella tenía 20 semanas, no podía salir tampoco. Una quimio probada en embarazos de los años 90, con su beneficio de que estaba probada en los embarazos, con su perjuicio de que era muy antigua y era muy agresiva para otras cosas. Entonces un primer ciclo pues para ver qué tal, si ella podía seguir adelante y para eliminar enfermedades, que seguramente para mí fue el más duro. Ya luego la sacaron a ella con 30 semanas. Yo volví a entrar a un tercer ciclo ya distinto, que ya era con otra quimio, con otras cosas. Entré y en 2 días me pusieron la quimio, que te baja las defensas, y no recuerdo si a los 6 o 7 días llegaban las células del trasplante. O sea, vas nervioso porque lleguen las células, no porque realmente lleguen. Tú sabes que la quimio que te han puesto es mortal, entonces esas células tienen que llegar sí o sí. Una vez que llegan y te enchufan a la máquina, pues ya está, como cualquier otra fusión. Si te da alergia a la plaqueta, pues lo que sea te tienen que pinchar, tal cual, pero bien. Es una americana que tenía 46 años en ese momento y que tenía 4 hijos. Le contaría muchísimas cosas. Le diría que va a estar estupenda, que tiene 10 años, seguramente me pondría a llorar. Es que no hay palabras ni forma de dar las gracias pues eso, de haber tenido esta segunda oportunidad. Me tendría que contar muchas cosas estupendas. Thank you, donor.